Can ChatGPT choose the best book for me to read? That is what we are going to find out in today's video. Thank you so much for joining me again on my channel, Everlynn's Books and Tea. I'm so excited for this video this week where we are going to find out if ChatGPT can take 4 books and choose the book that I want to read the most out of those 4. So how we are going to do this is we are going to be first spinning a book color cover spin wheel, and whatever color the spin wheel lands on, we will be finding books that have covers of that color. That was a lot of words. So we will choose 4 books that match that color, 2 physical books, 2 Kindle books, and then we are going to do some chatting with ChatGPT and see if it can choose the book out of those 4 that I want to read the most. Whatever book it does choose, though, is the one that we will be reading. So it's time to find out how well ChatGPT reads my mind. So first up, let's get started with spinning the cover color wheel. All right, so here is our color cover wheel. Let's go ahead and spin it and see what our first covers are going to look like, what color they will be. Here we go. And it's spinning. Let's see what it is. Oh. White or pink? Looks like it's going to be pink. So we have pink, which is great because it's going to give us some romances, I assume. And I'm pretty sure there's at least one book on my TBR for June that's also pink that I want to choose. So let me go gather our book options and I will be right back. All right, so I have found the 4 books that ChatGPT will be choosing from. The 2 physical books are on my TBR, which I'm excited about. We have The Liar's Crown by Abigail Owens. I think you can definitely say this is a pink cover. There's a little bit of black on it, but I would say that the majority is pink. And this is a fantasy book that follows the second twin who was born and how she has to kind of put herself in the way of anyone who's trying to kill her twin. So that's our first option. Our second option is Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Casimano. And this definitely has a pink cover, so we got that there. And this is a mystery book about Finley Donovan, who is a struggling novelist and somehow gets herself entangled in a contract killer crime, basically. So that's our second option. And then our 2 Kindle options. The first one is Happy Place by Emily Henry. That is on my 25 books to read in 2025 list, and that is a contemporary romance. Then our last option is not on any list, but sounds interesting to read, and that is Mr. Pickwick's Guide to Marriageable Young Ladies by Jill M. Bean, and this is a standalone Regency romance. So those are the 4 options we'll be putting into ChatGPT, so let's go ahead and start that process. All right, so first we are going to tell ChatGPT what we want it to do, and then we're going to give it the books. So here we go. I just told ChatGPT the rules of the game where I'm going to give it the 4 books, a brief description of each book, and then it has 5 questions that it can ask me, which I can veto if I feel they're too leading. And at the end of those 5 questions, it has to choose the book it thinks I want to read the most. So just so you guys know, the book I want to read the most out of these 4 is Finley Donovan is Killing It, because I have not read a mystery book so far this month. I have read a lot of fantasy and romantasy, and I just want a good mystery to read. So this is my book choice. We'll see if ChatGPT can figure that out. All right, so ChatGPT says that it understands the rules of the game. We'll see how this goes. I'm just going to quickly type in the 4 books, and then we will start the game. I gave ChatGPT a brief description of each book and also told it which genre it fell under. And it is ready to ask the first question. The first question ChatGPT has is, when you're looking for a book to read, do you typically prioritize plot-driven stories, fast-paced with twists and external action, or character-driven stories, emotional depth, inner conflict, relationships? I do like the plot-driven stories, and I think Finley Donovan is more of a plot-driven than a character-driven book, just from the description. So we are going to answer this question with plot-driven. All right, so here is the second question. Are you currently more in the mood to escape into a completely different world, like magical, fantastical, or historical, or to read something more grounded in everyday life, modern settings, relatable situations? Having just read a ton of fantasy books this month, I am going to go with the more modern setting. So more grounded in everyday life. Question number 3 is, do you usually enjoy humor or wit in your books, or do you prefer stories with a more serious or intense tone? I love humor in my books, and that goes with Finley Donovan too, so I won't lead it astray by answering that. So, question 4 is, how do you feel about romance as a central element in your books? Do you enjoy it, tolerate it, or tend to avoid it? Right now, I will tolerate it because I have read a ton of romanticy, so it's not up there for this for me right now. Maybe later in this video I'll be more in the romance mood, but right now I will tolerate it. Not my first choice. All right, so question number 5. Do you like stories with a bit of suspense or mystery where you're piercing things together, or do you prefer more straightforward narratives? This sounds a little leading because if I answer mystery, it's going to choose the mystery genre. So I'm going to veto this question and have it ask me a different one. I'm going to say veto getting too close to genre based question. ChatGPT sounds like a lawyer in this one. Going to take this question from a different angle. We have, when you're choosing your next read, are you more drawn to unusual premises or setups, something that feels fresh or quirky, or are you more interested in comforting familiarity, stories that follow familiar beats or genres you already know you like? I love the quirky. I love the unusual premises because I like not having a plot that I feel like it's very familiar to me, like I felt I've read it before. So we're going to go with unusual premises. All right, so that is it's 5 questions. Let's see what book it chooses. All right, so it shows Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Cosimano. It did it. It got it right. I get to choose the book that I want to read. All right, I'm going to tell it got it right so it knows for our next round. All right, so we are going to be reading Finley Donovan is Killing It by El Cosimano, book on my TBR. I'm very excited to get to it. So this is a pretty popular book. I've seen it on a lot of YouTube videos in the past couple of years. It's been out for a while, so I don't see it as often as I had been. It's been out since 2022. But the premise of this book is that Finley Donovan is a struggling novelist, and she one day is sitting with her agent over lunch, and she is overheard discussing the plot for her new suspense novel. And she gets mistaken basically for a contract killer, and as this is going along, she also inadvertently accepts an offer to dispose of a problem husband. And she also becomes tangled in a murder investigation. So I've been looking forward to reading this for a long time. It's book 1. I don't know how many books are in this series, but I know that they're still coming out. So I am excited to jump into this series, and I think I'm really going to love it. So I will check in with you probably when we're halfway through and let you know how this read is going. I'll see you guys soon. All right, so I'm back for my 50% check-in. Almost 50%. We're like 30 pages away from 50%, but close enough. And overall, I'm really enjoying this book. It did begin a little bit slow for me. The first several chapters was mostly the main character, Finley, complaining about her ex-husband and how he wants to take the kids from her, and there was a lot of that going on, almost a little bit too much. But once we got into her being mistaken for a contract killer and involved in this murder, things picked up a little bit. They got a little bit more entertaining, I would say. So this book is told entirely from the viewpoint of Finley. It is a first-person book, and I enjoy her character. Like I said, except for those first couple of chapters where all she was doing was complaining about her ex-husband, once we got to the actual plot, I've really been enjoying her character as she tries to figure out her way out of the things that she keeps finding herself in, all the trouble that she keeps finding herself in, and not on purpose. Things just keep happening to her, and then she has to figure out how to get out of it. The way that she ended up involved in this murder investigation seems like it could potentially happen. Obviously, it's out there because who is going to overhear someone talking at lunch and think that they are a contract killer? That in and of itself is unlikely, but the way that it did happen seems like it could be a reasonable way for someone to mistaken someone as a contract killer. And then the way that she got involved in this murder investigation also seems probable, unlikely, but at least probable. It's not like way out there. I'm also enjoying the potential accomplice of Finley in this book as well, and how the accomplice kind of got involved in this murder investigation. And I think the two of them play off each other really well, and I'm really enjoying the relationship that they are having too. So overall, definitely enjoying it. Liking Finley the character. Only critique I have is in those first couple of chapters, a little bit overwhelming on how much she dislikes her husband, that being the main focus of those chapters. But once we got past that and into the actual plot of the book, it got a lot better, a lot more interesting, and a lot more engaging. So I'm excited to read the rest of this book and see what happens to Finley. And once that happens, I will come back and give you my final thoughts, and then we'll choose the second book for this little reading video at that time. So I will see you guys soon, and I'm excited that soon I will be checking off another book off of my TBR. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, I am back and I have completed Finley Donovan is Killing It by L. Cosimano, and I enjoyed this book. This was just a book that was a lot of fun, a book that doesn't take itself too seriously. Definitely not a mystery thriller book that is based on what could happen in real life. Technically, everything in this book could happen in real life, but it would be a very odd, what's the word? Coincidence if everything in this book happened. I definitely enjoyed the second half of this book a little bit more than the first half, as we were right into that murder investigation and that Finley found herself all caught up in. And I enjoyed the side characters that were introduced into this book as well, and just all the kind of relationships that evolved throughout this book. I will say the ending dragged on just a little bit. Every time I got to the end of the chapter and at the end of the book, I felt like, oh, we must be finished now. But then there was another chapter. So that part for me did drag on a little bit. And then the actual ending does have a cliffhanger that will make me want to pick up the second book. I kind of would have wanted to pick up the second book with or without that cliffhanger, because I'm curious where the second book is going to go after reading this one. So yeah, so that is Finley Donovan is Killing It by L. Cosimano. I would probably give it a 4 out of 5 because I definitely really enjoyed it. I just felt that the beginning was a little bit slow and focused too much on Finley's feelings towards her ex-husband, and the ending was just dragged out a little bit. The middle part, the part that had to do with the actual murder investigation, that plot was a lot of fun to read. So there we are. Finley Donovan is Killing It by L. Cosimano has been completed. All right, so moving on to the second book for this reading challenge. I think for this one, I'm going to have all the books be in the same genre because ChatGPT had a little bit too easy when each book was its own genre. So this time around, we're going to choose books that are all in the same genre to make it a little bit more difficult. First up though, let's bring up the color cover spin wheel and see what color cover books we'll be choosing. All right, so here's our spin wheel. Last time we landed on pink. If we land on pink again, we'll just go ahead and respin it. I don't want to do the same color cover twice in a row. That's no fun. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and hit spin. All right, we are spinning around. Does not look like we're going to land on pink, one of the colors. And it looks like it's going to be orange. I feel like that's one of the most difficult colors to find for a book. All right, let me go gather some orange cover books. Yeah, that's the right sentence. And I will be back and we will talk over our options at that point. All right, I found 4 books. Orange is not an easy color to find covers of, so I was not able to find books all in the same genre because of that, out of the books that I owned. But I was able to find 2 physical books and 2 Kindle books, so at least we have that. So the books we will be choosing from, or ChatGPT will be choosing from, are A Pirate's Life for Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is book 2 in the Tomes and Tea series. I really love book 1. It's a cozy fantasy series, so definitely looking forward to book 2. So this is definitely orange on the cover. I would say mostly orange. The edges are orange as well, so we're going with it. Next up, we have Sleeping Tiger by Rosamund Pilcher. Cover's definitely orange. Her books are contemporary fiction books that are just kind of cozy in of themselves. They typically take place in England, and every story I've ever read from her, I have loved. So if we get this one, I will be happy as well. It is on the shorter side too, so yay for that. But that's our second option. Then we have Second Born by Amy A. Bartol, which the flower, everything kind of looks orange. So that's why we're going with this one. And this is a young adult dystopian series. This is the first book in the series. And then our last option is The Martian by Andy Weir. I still have not read it. I have seen the movie, but have not read the book. I know it's pretty popular. So we are adding that one on. I feel like the dust and the clouds are orange on the cover. All right, so those are our 4 options. Give me a second. Let me enter them into ChatGPT. Let ChatGPT know we are doing a second round, and then we'll get started. All right, so I gave ChatGPT the 4 books that we're choosing from, along with a brief description. I also told it to ask less leading questions that I may not be able to know which book it's leaning towards. We'll see how that goes. The book I would like to read the most out of these 4, none of them are on my TBR or any other list, so I'm going to go with A Pirate's Life for T by Rebecca Thorne will be my book that I would prefer to read out of these 4. All right, it says time for round 2 with more subtle questions. So question 1, when you're reading for fun, do you prefer stories where the stakes are personal, someone trying to understand their past or solve a problem in their life? Or stakes that are larger in scale, survival, saving a world, changing a system? I do like the stakes that are larger in scale. That, I feel like, makes it quite interesting. So we're going to go with that answer. All right, question 2. Do you tend to enjoy stories that are tightly focused on one main character's journey or ones that include a broader ensemble or multiple character arcs? I do like the books that follow more closely one character. When you start throwing in other characters, I feel like the depth of the story can be a little bit less, or the books are super long. And none of these books are super long, so I feel like for these, I would prefer just focusing on one character. All right, there we go. Question number 3. When it comes to setting, are you more excited by futuristic or speculative environments or recognizable real-world places, even if they're far off or remote? So I think I know where this question is leaning towards. It's kind of dividing between our 2 fantasy books and then our Martian science fiction book, because that takes place in a real setting, Mars, and the Rosamund Pilcher book obviously does as well. I do prefer fantasy places, and most of the time, even in my fantasy worlds, I really like the ones where it's a brand new world, not set on Earth. So we're going to go with a futuristic or speculative environment. All right, 2 questions down. Or 3 questions down. I don't know why I said 2. All right, question 4. Do you enjoy can't say that word. Do you enjoy technical or logistical problem solving in stories like clever workarounds, plannings, or science strategy? Or are you more drawn to emotional or philosophical dilemmas? I love the technical or logic. Oh my God, I can't even say it. I love the technical or logistic problem solving in stories. You can kind of tell by my sweatshirt. I did engineering as a major, so I love figuring out things in a logistical problem solving way. So that is the answer we are putting down. I have no idea. None of these really fit the fantasy ones, I feel, but who knows? Well, I guess some clever workarounds could. So let's put the technical or logistical problem solving. All right, and on to our last question. So it is, when reading, do you prefer a tone that's more serious and intense or something that leans more lighthearted or adventurous, even if the stakes are high? I think I've said this before, I love the lighthearted books. That's why I really enjoyed Finley Donovan. I enjoyed The Games Gods Play, because even though the stakes were super high, I mean, death could occur. It was just done in a very lighthearted, humorous way. So those are the books I tend to binge a little bit more than the more serious side of things. So that is what we're going with, lighthearted. All right, I'm not actually, last time I knew what book it was going to choose. This time around, I'm not quite sure if we're actually going to get the book that I preferred, even though I would love to read any of them. This could also lean towards The Martian, I feel. Or none of them. I really don't know. All right, here we go. Let's see what book we're reading next. Oh, it is The Martian. So ChatGPT chose it because it's a high-stakes survival story set in a speculative, futuristic environment, tightly focused on one character, full of clever, technical problem-solving, and told with a surprisingly light, adventurous tone. Let ChatGPT know that this time they got it a little bit wrong. I'll give it some, because I am excited to read it. I don't want to feel too bad. It says, a pirate's life for tea definitely fits your adventurous, speculative streak. And with dragon eggs on the line, the stakes are delightfully high. I can see how that quirky, magical vibe might edge out a Martian dust storm for you. Still glad the Martian is on your radar too. It's a solid second. Want to go for round 3? I'm warmed up now. We'll be back for round 3 once we finish The Martian. Alright, so we'll be reading The Martian by Andy Weir. I definitely enjoyed the movie, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the book, if the book varies from what the movie is. But this is a book about Mark Watney, who became one of the first people to walk on Mars, and now he's pretty sure he's going to be the first person to die there. So what happens is a dust storm comes on Mars, nearly kills him, forces his crew to evacuate because they thought he was dead, but he ends up surviving and now is all alone without a way even to signal Earth to let them know that he is still alive. And now he has to use his intelligence, his engineering skills, and his refusal to quit to survive until he can get word to Earth that, yes, I'm still alive on Mars. Can somebody come get me? So that is a book we'll be reading. It's not super long. It's only 384 pages, which is what About Finley Donovan was. So we'll get that done probably tomorrow because it's after midnight here. And then hopefully we'll get our 3rd book done as well tomorrow. So I will see you back here tomorrow to check in with you after I've gone through half the book, most likely, and let you know how I'm feeling about it. So I'll see you guys in the morning tomorrow. Take care. I don't know why I just said that, but see you guys soon. All right, it's a new day, and I'm about halfway through The Martian, and I am loving this book. It's just another fun read that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just also an interesting read to learn how not Mark, is it Mark? It is Mark. I don't know why I thought that was wrong. How Mark is figuring out how to survive on Mars with limited equipment, and just the science behind it is pretty neat as well. I love the character Mark. He's just fun. He has a sarcastic sense of humor, and he is just one of those people that doesn't give up and continues to create these innovative solutions to solve the unique problems that he keeps encountering on Mars. And that's just a lot of fun to see how he's going to fix the next crisis that he finds himself in. It definitely seems similar to the movie. It's been years since I've watched the movie, but it definitely feels similar. I don't, remember all the exact things that happened in the movie because it's been so long, but as I'm reading through it, there's certain things that make me remember, oh yeah, that occurred in the movie. At this point, am just wondering how much research the author went into this to be able to write this book, because there's a lot of science, there's a lot of computer science as well, there's a lot of engineering, botany that goes into this, and I'm assuming it's accurate. I'm not a botanist, I don't know, but it seems as you're reading that it's accurate, and I just wonder how long it took him to research all this. I don't know what his background was before he was an author. Obviously he's a pretty famous author at this point, but I may have to look into that and see if he did have any background in science or engineering or anything like that. The one thing that I do find is a little bit out there is the fact that Mark happens to be both a mechanical engineer and a botanist. Those are two things that typically don't go together. I don't know how many mechanical engineers and botanists are in the world, but I don't feel like that combination is pretty common. Of course, he did end up in NASA, so maybe that was his way to get in. But, coming from a engineering background, I have not met a lot of engineers / botanists except in the biological engineering space. I know there's a lot of classes on there because I did biomedical engineering, so we crossed a lot with the biological engineers. But other than that, mechanical is not really in that mix, so who knows? But it was very lucky that Mark happened to be both a botanist and a mechanical engineer. We'll just go with that. So that is where I am. Like I said, halfway through. It's in the afternoon of the following day. I did not get as much reading done today for really no reason other than I just, got distracted doing other things. But hopefully I'll be able to finish this book in a couple more hours. And then my goal is to finish the third book, which will be the last book for this video, by tomorrow morning. So we'll see if we can meet that goal. I'm hopeful that we can, but we shall see. So I'll get back to you once I finish the rest of the book, let you know my final thoughts on it, and then we will go ahead and do our last book choosing process when I see you guys next. All right, so I'll see you guys soon. I have completed The Martian by Andy Weir, and it was a really good book. I was very I knew it was probably going to be good just based on the movie and what other people have said, but I loved reading it. I would definitely give it a 4.5 out of 5. While it's similar to the movie, most of the things I feel are pretty similar. The nice thing about the book is that you get to read more of the science behind Mark's decisions on when he's trying to fix the catastrophes that he's found himself in, which is fun for me at least. I don't know. I didn't realize until I read the author's note at the end that this was his first book. It was a debut novel. I don't know. For some reason, I thought that he had published some books before that, but this was self-published before being picked up by a major publisher and then obviously selling the movie rights as well. And with how well written it is, I know he kind of revised it for when it became published by a major publishing company. But being his first novel, I think the idea and the presentation of it was really cool. Obviously, I haven't read anything like that before. The closest movie to this, I feel, is Apollo 13, which is obviously based on a real story. This one is obviously not. But it was a lot of fun to read because all the things that Mark went through on Mars seemed like they could actually happen in real life situations. The other thing I found interesting was that the author seems to have a background in computer programming, but he wasn't, he didn't major in anything that had to do with space or NASA or anything like that. And he himself just is interested in space travel as a hobby. So he's kept up with a lot of, space news and all of that. And that's his knowledge of that is kind of what he used to write this book, including making a orbital trajectory program so that he could make sure in this book that the trajectories were correct, which, wow, that's a lot of dedication to making sure things are scientifically correct in your book. I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, I loved reading it. It was definitely a fun book, which is weird to say because it's about a guy who got stuck in Mars, but I definitely had a lot of fun reading it. Mark was a great character, and I love reading his humor as, all these catastrophes befell him on the planet of Mars. But that's all I got for The Martian by Andy Weir. We're going to do one more round of this reading challenge, and first step is, of course, to spin our book cover color wheel, see what color book covers we'll be choosing from. Which book? Yeah. There we go. All right. Let's bring up the color cover spin wheel. All right. Here is our book cover color wheel. Let's go ahead and spin it. I'm hoping for green, blue, even black would be great. I know I have books in those colors. And yeah, those are the colors I'm hoping for because I think they will be the easiest. We will ignore pink and orange since we already did those two colors, but let's go ahead and spin it. Here we go. All right. Oh, come on, keep going, keep going. White is what it looks like. All right, we'll be doing the book color cover of white. I have no idea if I have any physical books in white. I can think of one, but let me go take a look at the books I own, and hopefully I can find 4 books with white covers that I will enjoy reading. I will be back. I have looked through all the books I've owned and I've chosen 4 books, one of which will be the last book that we read for this reading challenge. Apparently, white covers are very popular in the mystery thriller genre, so all these books are within that mystery thriller genre, which I'm excited about because I do enjoy mystery thrillers and I have not read a lot of those in this month, so I'm excited to get another one read on this challenge. All right, none of these books are on my TBR. Most of my TBR covers at this point in time are like blues, greens, purples, so nothing white. So I had to go venture outside of my TBR. So for the 2 physical books we will be choosing from, the first one is These Toxic Things by Rachel Housel Hall. So definitely a white cover. And this is a mystery thriller book where the main character has to cross paths with a long dormant serial killer. So that's our first option. Our second option is Rabbits by Terry Miles. Again, mostly white. We have the rabbit that is orange, pink, and teal, or blue. It looks teal on there, but cover mainly white. So this is a mystery book about a deadly underground game that might just be altering reality itself and is based on the Rabbits podcast. So that's our second option. Then our 2 Kindle electronic book options are Abducted by T.R. Reagan, which is the first book in the Lizzie Gardner series. It's also a mystery thriller about Lizzie, who was kidnapped when she was 17, and 14 years later, she's now a private investigator. And then last up is In the Woods by Tara French, which is the first book in the Dublin Murder Squad series. This also features someone who was kidnapped as a child and is now 20 years later, and that person, Rob Bryan, is a detective on the Dublin Murder Squad. So kind of similar, just a little bit different. So those are our 4 options that ChatGPT is going to choose from. They are all kind of that mystery thriller spectrum, so we'll see which one it goes with. I think the one I want to read is In the Woods because I've heard that that book is very good and that the whole series is a pretty strong series to read, and I love books set in Ireland. So In the Woods by Tara French is the one that I would like to read the most, but we'll see what ChatGPT goes with. It did do a good job picking The Martian, even though that wasn't my top option. I did really enjoy that book. All right, so I gave it some brief information about each book. Did I say In the Woods was by Tara French? I meant Tana French. I just misread the author's name. All right, so let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT has for question 1. All right, question 1. When reading a story, are you more compelled by a sense of unraveling mystery, figuring out what happened, or a sense of constant tension, knowing what happened, but waiting to see how or if the danger resolves? I would say unraveling mystery. I don't want to know what happens. Oh no, actually, I'm going to go with constant tension because I feel like the constant tension is what moves the book faster forward. I just misunderstood what it meant the first time around. So I'm going to go with a sense of constant tension. Question 2. Do you enjoy stories that incorporate nonlinear or layered timelines, e.g. past and present intersecting? Or do you prefer straightforward chronological storytelling? I honestly like both. I feel like In the Woods is going to be one that jumps back and forth just based on the synopsis of it. So we're going to go with that. We're going to say nonlinear or layered timelines. All right, question 3. When it comes to characters, are you more interested in characters with personal trauma or secrets, or in characters confronting bizarre or external forces? Well, I feel like In the Woods is going to be characters with personal trauma or secrets, just based on the fact that the detective was kidnapped as a child. All right, question 4. That helps paint a vivid picture. Do you like stories where the setting or location plays a strong atmospheric role in the narrative, or is that less important to your reading experience? I don't know what In the Woods would be. I would say that it's less important to my reading experience, especially in the mystery thriller setting. I feel like for some books like fantasy, it is important, but for mystery thriller, it's more about the plot. All right, so less important to reading experience. All right. Question 5, last question. Do you tend to gravitate towards stories that are gritty and grounded in realism, or ones that include some surreal, speculative, or unexplainable elements? This one's difficult. I don't know. I'm going to go with a mystery thriller. I like gritty and grounded in realism. I feel like that's what In the Woods would be. I have no idea what book is going to choose off of these questions. I can't even venture a guess. I am interested to see what book we're going to read. I'm excited for any of them. In the Woods, I want the most just because it was set in Ireland. And like I said before, books in Ireland, books in the United Kingdom, some of my favorites. So here we go. I'm going to press enter. We're going to find out what book we're going to read next. Perfect. Thanks for playing it straight and keeping this fun. The final guess is In the Woods by Tana French. ChatGPT did it. 2 out of 3. Picked the book that I wanted. It says it is a tense, layered, emotionally complex, and deeply rooted in character psychology, especially trauma. Plus, it has a time-jumping structure and a grounded, realistic style that matches my preferences. Let me know how I did. Got it right. All right, it says 3 rounds in and I'm still standing. Thank you for such a sharp and fun challenge. In the Woods is a fantastic choice. Hope it keeps you hooked and unsettled in all the right ways. Whenever you're ready for another round and want to talk about the books you've read, I'm here. Happy reading, detective. All right. Thank you, ChatGPT. All right, so we will be reading In the Woods by Tana French. Again, the first book in the Dublin Murder Squad series. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I forget when I came across this book. I feel like it was for another challenge when I was trying to find some books to read. So this book is set in Ireland. The flashback is back to 1984 when 3 boys did not return from the dark and silent woods where they were playing. And when the police arrived, they were only able to find one of the children. And he is gripping a tree trunk in terror. 20 years later, that boy, Rob Ryan, is now a detective on the Dublin Murder Squad and keeps his past a secret. But when a 12-year-old girl is found murdered in the same woods, he and Detective Cassie Maddox find themselves investigating a case chillingly similar to the previous unsolved mystery. So now Ryan has a chance to uncover both the mystery of the case before him and that of his own shadowy past. Ooh, this is a long one. I didn't take a look at that. It's 448 pages long. It's a little bit longer than I thought it was. All right, so I'm going to get to reading. I'm going to see how much I can get read of this tonight. It's a little bit past 8 o'clock. I go feed my cat. And then I will check in with you tomorrow morning probably. And we'll see how far I have gotten at that point. And hopefully I'll have it read by lunchtime tomorrow is my goal. All right, so I'll talk to you guys in the morning. See you in a little bit. All right, I am halfway through In the Woods by Tana French, I believe is the author. And it's a dense, long book, that is for sure. On Kindle, it's like 593 pages. So I am only halfway through. I still have halfway to go, but it is dense, but I am enjoying it. And it kind of reminds me of a Criminal Minds type story. So it's told from the viewpoint of Rob Ryan, who is the detective who, as a little boy, went missing in the woods for not very long, probably 3 or 4 hours, along with 2 of his friends, but only he was ever found. And he has no recollection of what happened that night. When he was found, he was just kind of stunned, would not talk, would not speak, just kind of stared. And ever since then, he doesn't remember what happened to his 2 other friends. They were 12 when this happened, and he got sent off to, I think, a boarding school before joining the Dublin police force, eventually making it to the Dublin Murder Squad. Now that he's on the Dublin Murder Squad, the book kind of starts out with the case that he's going to be working on throughout this book, which was the disappearance of a 12-year-old girl in the same town that he was from, which is like a suburb of Dublin called, what is it called? Something Knock. I forget the entire word. So this book is mainly following the case and also kind of looking for connections between what happened to Rob's friends as children and if there is any relationship with the girl who was found murdered in the same town that he lived in as a child. Like I said, I am definitely enjoying this book. It's the author's debut novel, but it's really well written and very engaging. It is dense. There are a lot of words per page, and it definitely takes a while to read, but I never feel like I'm kind of forcing myself to read through it. I don't feel like I am just muddling through. I'm definitely enjoying every chapter. I'm enjoying this path that the author is taking us on to figure out what happened to this girl and perhaps what happened to Ryan when he was a child. There is some flashbacks to when he was a child, but it's done in a nice way. It's not like a full flashback, italicized writing, all that type of stuff. It's just him kind of flashing back when a certain thing that's happening currently kind of triggers a potential memory for him, which is a nice way to do it, I feel. I don't always enjoy the flashbacks that are actually taking part in the past, if you know what I mean. There's one other thing that I really enjoy in this book. I feel like in some mystery thriller books, the main character knows more than you do, even when it's told from that first person viewpoint. And they're always just kind of hitting around at this information they have that you don't have. And that just drives me crazy. I'm like, we're reading from the viewpoint of this main character. We should know what the main character knows. This doesn't really happen in this book, as we are following along the path of Mark trying to figure out who the murderer is, as well as what happened in his childhood. He knows no more than we do. The only part of the book that doesn't quite follow that is there are some points in the book where the main character is looking back at this investigation for like a small little section, and obviously at that point he knows more than we do. But I'm okay with that because that's kind of future Rob looking back at what's going on with current Rob's life. And we are following current Rob, not future Rob. So that works for me. Other than that, I'm really enjoying the two main characters, Rob and his detective partner, Cassie. I feel like they're a really good pair and they kind of play off each other very well throughout this story. Cassie does know what happened to Rob as a child, but most people in the place that he works do not. So he's kind of kept that under wraps, but it's nice that his partner kind of knows what's going on as well, as an additional dimension to this book. So that's all I have to say right now about In the Woods, because I still have like 300 more pages to read almost, which is a little concerning because I was hoping to get this video up tomorrow, but it may just have to come out on Saturday, which is fine. Like every now and then, if I miss a Friday, have to post it on a Saturday, I think that's reasonable. So I'm going to get back to reading, and I will catch up with you when I'm at the end of the book and let you know my final thoughts on it. So I'll see you guys soon. All right. It is Saturday, June 21st at like 12:30 a.m. This video was supposed to come out yesterday, but because of how long it took me to read this book, the video is going to come out sometime later today once I go to bed, wake up, edit it, upload it, and then I'll post it. Despite how long this book took me to read, I really did enjoy reading it. I would give it about a 4.25 out of 5. It didn't hit the 4.5 out of 5 because of a couple of reasons, some of which I can't really say without spoiling. But overall, I would give it a 4.25 out of 5. I enjoyed the second half of the book. There is definitely a lot of ups and downs throughout it and a lot of twists and turns, as is typical in your mystery thriller books. I enjoyed the author's writing. She definitely gives a lot of description, but they are good descriptions, not so boring descriptions, and they definitely help you imagine what's going on in the book. The second half of the book is also only told by Rob Ryan, the narrator, first person view. So it was interesting to see how he kind of changed throughout the book. I feel the author did a really good job with his characteristics and his personality and how things kind of changed as they were investigating this crime. I still find it hard to believe that this book is so long and they were really, really only investigating one crime, which was how the 12-year-old girl died, with just, parts of it looking back into what happened to Rob and his friends when they were children. This book most reminded me of a Criminal Minds if it was a like 2-part movie, each part being 2 hours, because a lot of the police procedurals and the tracking down of suspects, the interviewing of suspects, it just really reminded me of the Criminal Mind TV show, which I love. So it was definitely nice to kind of read a book from that viewpoint, though of course this is taking place in Ireland and kind of follows the Irish police procedurals versus the Criminal Mind, which is set in the US. Like I said, definitely a long book. I'm sure there are parts that could have been cut down a little bit here and there, but I always felt engaged in the book and never really felt like I was really having to push myself through it. It's just a long book, so it just takes a while to read. There are definitely triggers in this book, so if you have any specific triggers, it's definitely a book that I would look those up before reading it, because there's definitely a lot in this book. It's definitely a crime mystery book, so definitely something to look at before embarking on this very long journey. I think this is book 1 of the series, but the series doesn't seem to follow any particular character. Each book seems to pick a different member of the Dublin Murder Squad to follow, so you're not always following the same character. So that's it. That is In the Woods by Tana French. We have finished it. Again, it's a 4.25 out of 5 for me. It's just one of those basic crime procedural mystery books that is a little bit more in depth, I would say, than a lot of them. But that's it for this video. Yay! We made it through our 3 book choices, which were all wonderful choices, and all of them I definitely enjoyed reading. They were all very different from each other, though. And I had a lot of fun in this challenge. I think next time what I'm going to do when I use ChatGPT in a random wheel is, for the random wheel, I think I'm going to put genres on it, and then choose 4 books that fit in that genre, and then just have ChatGPT ask me questions and choose the book that it will that it thinks I will like the most within that genre. So we'll see how that goes next time I bring this game back around. I definitely had a lot of fun playing it. Let me know if you enjoyed watching it. Next week, hopefully, should be on a Friday, because I'm planning to record next Friday's video on Sunday, which will be our July TBR, and we will be officially into the 7th month of the year, which is crazy. Hopefully the July TBR goes a lot better than the June one. We're playing on the summer game board instead of the spring, so hopefully that one will treat us a little bit nicer than the spring one did last month, or this month technically. Thank you again for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see future videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to let me know that you've watched the video to the end, what should we leave? I guess maybe a tree or leaves for the book In the Woods. Thank you once again for joining me for this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!